Good afternoon and welcome to Gulfstream Park on this beautiful Thursday. We have here not a cloud in sight. The track is fast. Tapeta is fast as always in the turf course. Look at how nice it looks there, Brian.
It's very, very firm out there, and that's always a good thing. And that's one of the reasons we've got $550,000 in the Rainbow Six guarantee, gross guarantee jackpot. Is going to kick off in race 4. Big, full, competitive fields on the turf. We saw it play out consistently yesterday. It will again today. Ron Nicoletti will be up a little bit later with his ticket, but looking forward. This is a tough card today. Unfortunately, I lost my long shot, but I thought there were a lot of different prices on the card throughout.
Yeah, most definitely. And let's go ahead and dig on into it. To start off the early pick 5, you've got a ticket together for race number 1, a mile and a 16th on the grass. Let's see how you're going to play your pick 5 today, Brian.
Yeah, I should have said the long shots maybe a little bit later on the card. I'm not expecting a lot here early on in the card. Now, I did scratch out of a horse in race number 3, cut the ticket in half. We'll single right off the rip. We'll talk about it in a second. Number 2, Capture the Laughter on top in race number 2. There's the single. Now, Mandy Green, a strong favorite to begin with, and now with the scratch of the 2, Maria's Revenge, an even stronger one. 3 deep. It's a good 2-year-old, oh, well, now 3-year-old race, I should say. In race number 4, we'll stretch out those 3-year-old fillies, some big pedigrees in there. I will go 3 deep, and then another single in race number 5, and that's the 6, Musical Design. Wesley Ward off a long layoff is not a bad thing. We'll show a stat to talk about that. $4.50.
A nice, affordable ticket. I do like that as well. So punched it a couple times and hoped for a carryover and played in the late pick 5 ticket where I will have mine a little bit later. But race number 1, maidens, 3-year-olds, fillies, $25,000 the level here. Not a bunch of world beaters in this race, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't necessarily love the outside post with number 10, Morgan's Bluff. But if you look at her turf race at Colonial Downs, where we know they had some good horses up there throughout the course of the summer, and a lot of our connections went up there. You see, Ed Garzayas was aboard that day at Colonial, Safi Joseph Jr., now Tyler Gaffleone's going to get aboard. I think there's enough of a run into the first turn that she should be okay. And as you kind of said, Samantha, there's just not a lot in here.
No, there really isn't, and she's one that, you know, I think is a logical single to start things off for. You're just going to have to maybe hit the all button here and maybe hope for some chaos. The number 5, Artifact, is coming from the Antonio Sano barn, and the sire, Ifraj, I'm probably butchering that completely, but the Great Britain bred is 5 for 30 with first-time turf outs, and this horse is finally getting the grass for the first time.
Yeah, it's not really a great angle for the barn, but you can see definitely picked up a little bit when she routed on the Tapeta, first started 2 turns. Irad Ortiz Jr. is here too, and it's not a big sample, but Antonio is 5 for 10 when he rides Irad, so that's a big positive as well. And take note that all these now 3-year-old fillies are going to get Lasix for the first time today.
Which is a huge angle to play with a lot of these. And then the number 4, a horse that I didn't really take a very good look at. This filly didn't really show much at all at Kentucky Downs, but you can usually put a line through those races when they run poorly on it.
Yeah, Navy Goat, who won that race, came back and won the stakes here. We'll see her again this Saturday in our double 3-year-old stakes that we have as well. Jeff Hiles already got a win here in South Florida. He's a pretty strong barn in the Midwest at Churchill Downs, the biggest drop in all of racing. 66-1 that day on debut. Obviously, they weren't expecting a lot. She's probably with some friends today.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that the 10 is the way to go. Morgan's Bluff in this race, and Brian and I are both seeing it that way. Moving on to race number 2. This is a maiden $20,000 race, 5.5 furlongs on the Tapeta. Started the pick 4, and I have put together a ticket, Brian, here. We'll go ahead and take a look at it. Going too deep in this race, in race number 3, my top pick and my long shot is the number 6, Chestnut Checkers. I don't know how much of a price I'm going to get in that anymore now with the 2 scratches. Race number 4, singling with the 7, undoubtedly going to try to beat the Chad Brown favorite, Anna's Gun, breaking from the rail. And in race number 5, the 6, I'm just going to single with Musical Design for the Wesley Ward horse, another horse you alluded to earlier. I think is just a very logical horse. $3 the ticket here.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing the sequence the same type of way. I mean, there are sequences where, you think you can get expansive, you can play some boxcar tickets. Maybe that's later on, and we'll get to that. But early on, I feel like these races are pretty formful. A couple of key scratches as well. So, yeah, I'm kind of picking up what you're putting down there.
In race number 2, we've got a couple scratches. The 1, the 4, and the 9 are all coming out of this 5.5 furlong race here. And, the 5-horse naval officer is going to be bet very heavily, and I really like the work these connections do, just kind of putting these horses in spots in which they fit. But you saw this a little bit differently to the 2.
Well, I took a shot, I guess a little bit of a shot with the 2 Capture the Laughter and Aubrey Mirage. Picked up a win, which is long overdue here at the championship meet. After he struggled a little bit at the Sunshine meet, Irad Ortiz Jr. is here. The other thing I like, too, is that he has not run this gelded son of Uncaptured sprinting since he claimed him. And now he's going to cut back. The sprint race on debut wasn't actually a bad effort at all when trained by Kathleen O'Connell. Seems like Aubrey's moved this horse up a little bit. Now we'll cut back. The tight field means the smaller field with the scratches means it's going to be a lot tighter early on. I think that also probably helps him because early speed is not necessarily his forte.
No, it's not, and you see it in his form as of late now. He was kind of pressing the issue in the last race, but that was going 2 turns, and they weren't really rattling off the quickest fractions. If you take a better look at that, Naval Officer will be bet quite a bit here. This is a horse that has been sprinting, but has tried this 8 times and still hasn't gotten there.
Yeah, and that's a little worrisome, and Liz Dobles, who's done such a good job, has now had him twice, and she's definitely improved him, but he hasn't necessarily broken through. It was kind of a flat third, to be honest, at the level last time. I didn't see a lot of excuses, but as you mentioned, Liz and John Gunnair, who's teamed for the owner's title, co-owner's title at the recently concluded Sunshine meet. They've been so hot, and she's done a good job with his runners.
Yeah, she really has. I'm excited to see kind of how their championship meet will grow. Claiming is their game, and they're definitely good at picking out horses and spotting them for this race. Race number 2 behind us. On to race number 3, a mile and a 16th, claiming 35,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime. Scratch the 1, scratch the 2 out of here, and gives us a short field, but a really competitive one at this. And the number 7, Mandy Green, this is going to be a filly that will be very, very well bet.
Yeah, she was 9-5 on the line before a couple scratches, and now 46 points are out of the morning line, so she might be odds on in here. Claimed by Edgar Baya, who won a couple races at the Sunshine meet. Zilla Management owned one of them, so there's got connections here that have shown a penchant for moving horses up. Not unproven on the Tapeta either, because this daughter of Include has a win on our Tapeta. So it's very, very short number here. I wasn't, you'll show a replay at Chestnut Checkers. I was okay not trying to get too crafty here, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and Chestnut Checkers is a filly that I didn't take a lot of thought into at first, but then when I came back and I watched this replay, which we'll go ahead and roll for you here, this was at Gulfstream Park. Here she is breaking from the 4 spot. Not the best break, kind of had to check just a little bit. And on these Tapeta races, Brian, this is not where you want to be going in to the first turn. Now we fast forward a bit. She had to make a very wide sweeping move here, and she actually ran pretty nicely in this, considering just how wide she was and how much ground she kind of had to make up on everybody else here. And I think that she's really got a shot in this spot.
Yeah, I think the scratches help her. I think the tight, condensed field helps her. And this was a really good run. And the winner's flashy, too. It was 6-5. And I think your horse had to work really hard just to get to her.
Exactly.
And that's probably why she came out of it a little bit late. But all things considered, and again, Ron and I mentioned this quite a bit, these are $20,000 claimers. These horses don't have 3 or 4 gears. So I think that was a very, very solid run.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm expecting a better effort today if you just cross out that last start that she had on the grass, which really wasn't a bad one either. But this is more her forte here. And the number 3s, this is it. Kevin Attard and Tyler Gaffleone. 8-1 on the morning line, of course, won't be now, but this is a filly that I love the switch from Woodbine to here. We've kind of seen it playing out okay.
Yeah, the Woodbine horses come down. They have a lot of foundation, that big, expansive course that they have up here. If you're not up there, I should say. And if you're not familiar with Kevin Attard, he comes down here each championship meet with kind of a select group of horses. And obviously, they're not closed at Woodbine, so you always have to think the horses that connections like that bring down here, they feel not only are they going to acquit themselves nicely here, but they probably have a liking to the course, too.
Most definitely. And we saw a nice winner yesterday with Strokes and Tyler Gaffleone for the Cassie Barn, making that switch from Woodbine here to Gulfstream Park. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Rainbow Six sequence with $550,000 gross jackpot guaranteed.
This is a championship meet. Yeah. All the best jockeys in the world are here, and I'm excited to ride against them.
We back.
And you get to watch some really incredible, talented athletes out there.
Yeah.
To us, it's a place to be in the winter.
I love Gulfstream Park because of the racing.
The palm trees, the beach is right here. The horse racing is some of the best in the country.
A lot of good horses come out of here. And if you want to go to the next level, Gulfstream Park was the place to come.
I remember the first time I came to Gulfstream, it was like this big fairy tale place. All the history. And all these great horses, trainers, jockeys. It was everything that I ever dreamed of.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Samantha Perry joined with Brian Nato as we are trying to guide you through some winners here. Rainbow Six starts in this spot right here, race number 4. A very, very nice maiden special weight with this 1-turn mile. I love seeing these races. These are newly turned 3-year-old fillies. And Brian, both of you and I have the right idea here in this race. Or I hope the right one, at least.
We'll see. We'll take a look at Ron's ticket real quick first and see what Ronnie's got the idea here. 137 for him, so he's got all the main players. 48.60, a lot of 3 balls here for Ron in terms of coverage-wise, at least in race number 5. He's going to go 3 deep. In race number 6, he's got some couple of prices in there. Key scratch down inside a crack shot. Long shot, but I think the speed in that race. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Another key scratch in race 7 of the 1 Blue Times, taking all the pace out of that race. Here's his single, Collaborate. Now, this is interesting. We'll have some fun TV today because I'm just dead set against Collaborate today. And then in race number 9, he goes 3 deep, including, usually he's got his long shot in there. We're going to go to the outside a little bit. Rugged Union. I don't know if it's his long shot or not. Rugged Union is loose in that race, and I think he's a huge, huge player. If you are expanding on your ticket, I used him on top myself. 48.60 for Ronnie, and as Samantha said, 550 in that gross jackpot guarantee, and I can tell you one thing right now, we'll have no problem surpassing that number quite easily.
Yeah, especially in these fields. This second half of the sequence here today is just a very, very tough one, and some good horses that I hope to see, maybe stake horses in the future, and maybe one of these fillies, a lot of these fillies in this 4th race stretching out to this 1 mile for the first time. And I've got a replay to show of the number 1, Anna's Gun, because I think maybe you kind of have saw this too, Brian, and why we went towards a different horse. Now, here she is at Aqueduct in her debut. She did not go off as the favorite, and she did run a really nice race here. I mean, at this point of the race, you thought maybe she could be a winner. Now, the 9 eventually ended up winning the race here, but I just didn't see a lot of heart in this, Brian.
Yeah, I thought she ran fine, but, you know, they absolutely walked early. I mean, you can't run any. You're going 6.5. They went 47 in 3 to the half mile. She's got a big, big pedigree. This is the 3rd full out of the dam. The other 2 were Structor, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf for Chad Brown. The other one was always Carina, who's a really, really graded stakes, nice runner as well. So she's supposed to be a good horse. You mentioned it, though. It was a 9-horse field. She wasn't favored. They did better that day. I don't know. She's down inside. She can improve. She's probably the most likely winner. I understand all of it, but it's like we said yesterday with the dropper that ran second, and the name escapes me, Digital Software maybe.
Oh,
but
yes, the Chad Brown.
Yeah, we're gambling here again.
Exactly.
And this horse might be 3 to 5 in here. She's got every right to win, and she's got every reason to improve in a big way, and we're going to talk about her main contenders here, and they haven't been overly impressive. I just didn't want a short number down inside on the stretch out when you said I just kind of felt like she should have won last time.
Yeah, she really should have. And, you know, you can make an excuse for these first time out races. She's always going to improve. They're always going to improve. But as far as a horse that you're going to get probably some value on, and Joel Rosario, Bill Mott, I mean, how can you ignore these connections? And this is a filly that was extremely heavily bet in her first out at Churchill Downs, debuting the 1-turn mile, which is never an easy feat for a horse to do, and albeit in the slop.
Yeah, I mean, we need a square price here because undoubtedly didn't run at all. I mean, she didn't. She was dead. She beat one horse home, but as Samantha said, she was 2 to 1. It was a sloppy track. She chased a little bit early, and then just basically she stopped and just galloped home. But now, you know, we don't have to worry about a drop. There's a pedigree here. She's a half to Fearless. We know Fearless so well down here at Gulfstream Park. The Dam did win her debut. It was the only start she won in 18 starts. I just feel like we're going to see what undoubtedly can do today, and I'm willing to give a pass. And the other thing is, back to the gambling aspect here, we're going to be a much better price, and the risk reward is going to be there. So I'll come back to her as well. Yeah,
it'll be exciting to see kind of how these horses fare out. Now, the number 5, OK Fine, a horse that I think deserves some attention just due to the connections here. Brian Lynch starting off with a bang here, and this is a filly that probably has some upside.
Yeah, I think she's improving. I mean, she raised her figure a bunch last time. It was a very fast race for the level. Jose Ortiz sees fit to ride as well. We get a big jock upgrade, and Jose's doing such a good job down here, and Brian's used him with limited starters, but has used him in success in the past. And I see, you know, third start of a form cycle of / career is often the best for a horse, especially a younger horse. Yeah, and a filly as well. Sometimes they can be a bit tricky. Race number 5, a main optional claimer for fillies and mares 4 and up, 5 furlongs on the Tapeta track. And you know, this is a big field for a sprint here, and the outside is not always the spot you want to be, but this is where one of my top picks is coming from, and I'm curious to kind of see how you thought this race was going to shape out. Yeah, I've got Musical Design on top. I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here. Well, take a look at your ticket first, right? We've got the late pick 5. Yeah, we've got the late pick 5 starting in this race right here. I'm trying to jump through it. I'm so excited about race number 5. Singling in race 5, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Race number 6, the 2 and the 3 are my picks out of this race. My top pick being the number 3, Town of Gold. We've got a replay to show of him a little bit later. Race number 7, I spread a bit more because these mile-and-a-half races are a bit tricky. The number 2 is my top pick out of it, though. In race number 8, the number 1, Collaborate. I know you're completely against him. I think if he runs anything like he has in the past here at Gulfstream Park, 3 of his wins, all of his wins actually have come from here. I think he should be very tough. And in race number 9, my top pick being the 2, See My Meister here for the Kelsey Danner barn. Going back to race number 5, though, Musical Design. This is a horse coming off of a layoff from the Wesley Ward barn and making the second start here at Gulfstream Park. Yeah, and we've got a trainer staff for Wesley, too. I mean, he's so prolific at everything he does, but this just really ramps it up. Look at this now, 41% in all-weather sprints off this kind of layoff the past 5 years. Irad Ortiz Jr. is here. This horse is going to hum along early. It's drawn perfectly if somebody wants to go crazy to the inside as well. And the other thing, too, now, this is a Florida bred. Those are obviously open company maiden special weight races in Kentucky where she ran okay, at least 2 back. Now she's in a race that meets some of her fellow, you know, contemporaries, so to speak. You saw her debut here was so strong. I just think she's in a really good spot here. And one thing I like about this filly a lot, Brian, that little gate tune-up a couple weeks ago on December 22nd. So she's going to be really tight and ready for this race. Sometimes when you just kind of remind them, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing here. So I like to see that kind of little tune-up going into this race. Now, the number 8, Red Tierra, Amador Sanchez. I know this is a barn that you really like, and I do as well. He has good success, and it just takes a little bit to get rolling, it seems like. Yeah, I'm not liking him as much recently. I picked him 5 or 6 times. It's going to happen.
It will, yeah.
Yeah, he takes over from Michael McCarthy, who had this horse out in California. And this is a barn 24% with newcomers to the barn. We had the blinkers, good outside post. Now, this horse has never sprinted, so this could be awfully sharp for this horse.
Yeah.
But Jose Ortiz is here as well. Has been working very, very well in the morning, too.
He has, and, read what you want into those works, but he has worked also over this Tapeta track here, which does, I think, play to his advantage a little bit. And then on the rail spot, Stake a Claim, Jerry O'Dwyer had a very nice little stake win the other week, and this horse has sprinted here at Gulfstream Park before.
Yeah, Sibelius looks so good for Jerry winning the Mr. Prospector Grade 3. And Stake a Claim will be going early. I think the problem for Stake a Claim, and I think she can still get a piece of it. As you can see, we both got her in there. She's going to be pressed by the best horse in the race, and that's going to be tough to stick it around.
It really will. And race number 6, this is the start of our late pick 4. Brian has got a ticket to throw up on the screen here to punch maybe not a couple times, depending on what your budget is.
This is kind of what we were talking about earlier. I think it's a lot more expansive in the late pick 4. So $24 to me, just too deep in the opening leg, but then we spread a little bit. I did lose my long shot on the car, Blue Times, who I thought was loose in race 7. I still think it's a spread race, so again, I scratch into the 2. Here's my best bet of the day. I think you get it's double whammy for American Prince, because obviously Collaborate is going to be a huge favorite in the race, and then I'm going to go 6 deep, and we've got to mention now, okay, in race number 9, with the scratch of the 7, the 13, Greg's Honor draws in, and I do think he's a player. So make sure you take note of that. It's a deep spread. The top pick is Rugged Union, who I mentioned looks absolutely controlling for me. But do take note, with the scratch, the 13 is going to draw in.
Race number 6, it's 5.5 furlongs on the Tapeta here. Scratch the number 1, Cracked Shot, and still a very competitive field. There's a replay I want to show of my top pick, and Brian, your third selection here. This is a Town of Gold at the Belmont at Aqueduct Meet. Here behind some horses at 12-1, and a race where he got no love whatsoever. He's looking for some running room and just kind of looks like he might stay there, but he found another gear when this horse came up outside of him, and I just thought he was so game. When I'm looking at his pedigree, okay, no, he's never tried the Tapeta before, but Speightstown is 19% with Tapeta sprints, pardon me. And that's a huge number there.
Yeah, the Speightstown's run on everything and anything, and he's been such a good sire. And, Town of Gold, you see that race right there, and it's not the end-all, be-all, but I always think if you're going to handle the turf, you're going to get over the Tapeta, okay? It remains to be seen, obviously. But, I do feel like there's some guessing in this race. Even Elusive Mischief, we've both gotten second, has predominantly been a turf horse throughout his career. So, there's a little guesswork that goes into this race.
And a lot of these horses, like Brian alluded to, they're trying this for the first time. Now, he's in charge. This is a horse that has run one time on the Tapeta, but taking a very large class here, maybe trying to wake him up just a little bit.
I thought it was interesting that Samantha Doble's Claims just won and immediately bang right onto the Tapeta. He's had a lot of speed, or chased a lot of speed, I should say, on the main track. Now, the inside speed comes out of this race. That's Crack Shot. So the flow of this race is maybe a little more sketchy now. There is some speed with Toretto, and he's in charge. We'll be chasing Old Town Road certainly as well, but maybe the true front runner of the field might be out now.
And your top pick, Charmed, here, where are you kind of wanting him to sit in this race?
Yeah, this is another kind of guess, too, because he's never been over it either. He's been chasing some pretty hot splits, and he's been relatively close, and I would think Irad will keep him involved. Now, we have seen a little bit in the last couple of weeks. I do feel like the Tapeta sprints have shifted just a little bit, where, we saw it for quite some time. It didn't matter how fast you went. You hung around late. They've come from all over the place, at least a little bit more than maybe of late.
Race number 7, feature race of the day, 1.5 miles on the grass. This is a marathon race. These races are really exciting, although when you look at the distance, you might not think so, but I'm a quarter horse person, Brian. I like the need for speed, but I do think that this is a race that really shows the class out of a lot of horses. Now, these are fillies and mares, 4-year-old and upward. Scratch the number 1 out of this race, and just what a tough race. What do you do here?
Yeah, I mean, I scratched scratch into the 2. The 1 was my long shot play of the day. I scratch into the 2. The 1 was the only horse with any sort of speed.
Yeah.
So now I feel like we're really going to get a bunched group, and as these long-distance marathons usually play out, it's going to turn into a 2-furlong sprint off the far turn. I'll go with, well, we both got the top pick, El Este Forte for Ian Wilkes down inside. We're going to save a lot of ground. I don't think she needs to drop too far out of it. She's got a mile and an 8th race under her belt at Keeneland, and she's got Jose Ortiz, so there's a lot to like here.
There is a lot, and Jose Ortiz actually rode her 2 starts back, and that was going a mile and 3/8, so she's got the fitness in her. Ian Wilkes is very good with these type of marathon-type horses as well, so excited to see kind of how she'll fare out. Now, the probable favorite of this race is the number 4, Bravo Kitten, who you have second, and not a lot to go off of on form here.
Yeah, I mean, she's okay. She ran very, very well at Kentucky Downs last time, and that's going to give her a foundation. And it was a long distance route as well. And she has a win on our turf course, so I think she's definitely the horse to beat. But with that being said, and kind of like you hinted at, she doesn't have to win this race.
No, she really doesn't. And the number 6 Broadway Boogie, James Toner had a nice 8-1 winner yesterday with Bryce Canyon. A race that he broke his maiden in, was going a mile and a quarter at Colonial. Now that was a full field of 10 there, so he weaved his way through some traffic, got the win here, and won really impressively.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good group at Aqueduct, Belmont at Aqueduct, and when you're facing winners for the first time, it can be tough. As Samantha said, it was good to see Jimmy here and in the winner's circle yesterday, and I think Broadway Boogie is certainly in the mix here, and I think we both kind of feel this is a spread race.
Oh, most definitely, and good luck if you're alive at this point as well. Hopefully you did spread on your tickets. That wraps up the mile-and-a-half race. Race number 8, start of the late daily double. 7 furlongs is the distance here, and the return of Collaborate, and you're totally against.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about him first. You've got him on top, and clearly the race goes through him, but just the flags here. He's in for 35. He just hasn't done any running in his last 2 starts, and I thought he had a dream trip last time. I mean, obviously it was a good race. The Noble Drama looped the entire field. Super Corinto might very well win or be a major player in the Pegasus. So there's, I get all of it. I just didn't like that race. I don't like that he's in for 35. He's going to be a very, very short price. Yeah. And he's down on the rail, and honestly, he's just impossible to trust. Even if he was still the Collaborate of old, he just runs clunkers here or there.
And the number 4, American Prince, this is a horse that is coming out of that same race as him. And what kind of did he show that led you to a little more interest?
Yeah, this is my best bet of the day. I loved this race. I thought this is the type of race where you watch it and it was kind of hidden how huge he ran. The race completely falls apart, and here he is chasing 44-3, going a mile, and sure, he's going to come out of it, and obviously Collaborate beat him and beat him, relatively comfortably, but the race within the race where he was forced to make first run while Collaborate kind of sat back and licked his chops, and for him to be beaten less than 10 lengths with the dynamic of that race against that quality of opposition, I think he's in a great spot today, and he's going to get first run. He's drawn perfectly, too, and the pace will not be. That was so hellacious last time.
It really was. And what's cool about this horse is he's matured so much, Brian. He used to kind of be like, go to the front and don't look back. Didn't really have any question of tactics. But now he's kind of become rateable, which you like to see a racehorse just develop more into themselves. In race number 8, let's see if we can beat Collaborate here. Of course, I don't want that to happen because singled on my pick 5. Race number 9 to end the day. 7.5 furlongs on our turf course here. I love the 7.5 furlong races, Brian, mainly because I don't have to walk very far to get out there.
You go. They're tricky. You don't want to be too far outside. Now, with that being said, I've talked about this before. This is like a bad post might be a good post. Now, Paco Lopez is going anyway with Rugged Union, but sometimes when you're out here, it takes all thought out of the equation. He has to go. He has to send. And Samantha, I don't really see any other speed in this race, especially with an aggressive ride from Paco. We're stretching out. I'll just take a deep breath and hope Rugged Union lasts about a minute and 30 seconds or so.
I hope he does too, for your sake. And there are a lot of question marks in this race. Now, the number 2, See My Meister, this is a horse that I like the fact that he's already had a run over this track. he's only had one win on this track, but I think that he's going the right direction for a barn that's starting to peak at the right time here.
Yeah, Kelsey Danner's done really, really good work of late and won a race the other day. And this horse comes out of a very, very fast race for the level. When you're beating 6 lengths and you're running a 77, that's a fast race. And I think See My Meister is well drawn down to the inside, too. And I know it looks like he's been coming from out of it. They went 45 and 1 that day. He should be a little closer today because they'll go a little bit slower.
Yeah, that's a super, super quick pace for him. And I'm hoping he doesn't get shuffled too far around back, being that he is drawn on the inside. But we'll see how it'll fare out. Race number 9 concludes our card that we have on deck for you today on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Let's go ahead and take a look at our lightning round here. The Pegasus is upon us, Brian, and some exciting horses were invited.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you see yesterday nominations, or invitees, I should say, were sent out. None more so leading the way than Cyberknife, the 2-time Grade 1 winner. This is the gut-wrenching loss in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Here he ran so well, and this is going to be his last race. And trainer Brad Cox, he did this last year with Nick's Go, the defending Pegasus champ, who came up just a little short. But the noms are, the invitees, I should say, are impressive, and it's Cyberknife to beat, at least right now, and that's 2 weeks from Saturday. Never too early to talk about it.
Yeah, it is, and it's super exciting. And that was a race where you hated to see Cyberknife lose, but we're happy for Cody's wish to win. That was something that I think all the connections involved were like, well, okay, if we're going to get beat by anybody, that's all right with us. Best bet of the day today, Brian, what do you have?
It is in race number 8, the American Prince, taking a shot against Collaborate on a horse that should be a fair price.
Oh yeah, you might get more than 5 to 1 in that. And mine is coming from the marathon race, El Estfort, which I know you drew into here. Let's see if Ian Wilkes can have this condition already. Best long shot, I believe you lost.
Yeah, I lost my long shot in that race. So
there you go. Yeah, and Chestnut Checkers, I don't think I'll get anywhere near 6 to 1 now. Unfortunately, some scratches, but I had a good thought, a good train rolling there. Beat the Expert is on Saturday. Oof. I'm in the hot seat here. Yep, this is my first time. Beat the Expert. There we go. So you can sign up at gulfstreampark.com/wagering. You have to pick more winners than me. Expert, that's such a strong word, isn't it?
No, it's not the legend like Ron. I think Ron threw down, I believe, 6 winners last Saturday. So you have your work cut. You have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, I do. Make sure to get involved in that. It's a fun thing. I'm excited to be a part of it for the first time here at Gulfstream Park for the championship meet. Make sure to sign up for that. On Saturday, mandatory payout at Santa Anita, and also the start of our Coast to Coast Pick 5. This is a huge day for Santa Anita on Saturday. Yeah,
they've got a big 10-race card. We'll talk about the Gulfstream/Santa Anita Pick 5 tomorrow and throughout the day, actually. And they're expecting about $3 million in their mandatory payout. So our sister track out there, a lot of excitement there, and we're building one right here as well. $550 today, and kicks off in race 4.
Very exciting card that we have. Make sure to get involved. We've got a huge weekend of racing ahead. As Brian mentioned, a couple of stake races for 3-year-olds, newly turned 3-year-olds that is, and we'll be bringing you all the action throughout the day. A few minutes away from race number 1. Good luck.
We're ready for the start. They're off.